Hey everyone! Today I'll be reviewing the Writech dual color multi-pens. I'll specifically be covering the vintage color set. This set includes 4 multi-pens in a 0.5mm tip size. Each pen comes with 2 different colored inks, so in total you'll be getting 8 colors. These pens come in a sleek body which features different colored plastic to represent the 2 different inks included. They also include a sticker on the body indicating what the 2 color names are. These also come with a plastic clip with the brand name written on it in matching colors to the top part of the body, as well as what the tip size is. Because these are multi-pens, the push tabs are on opposite sides from one another on the top portion of the pen. These tabs are conveniently color-coded, making it very easy to switch between colors without being too bulky. These pens include a metal conical tip that is gentle on the page and doesn't feel scratchy while writing. In terms of the ink, these feature gel ink that is quick drying and water-based. The first pen comes with a navy and Persian red combination. The next one comes with the milk tea and smoke blue colors. The third has dark green and amber, and this last one includes calate and mauve. Overall, I think that most of these do write very smoothly and don't seem to drag on the page while writing. The ink is pigmented and the color payoff is satisfactory. I like that the bodies are slim and lightweight, though that can be totally up to personal preference. I tend to prefer my writing utensils to be on the lighter side since I have an unorthodox grip. I also really love the color selection. Again, totally up to personal preference, but I typically gravitate towards these muted, vintage, desaturated colors compared to the standard primary and secondary colors, so this color range is certainly up my alley. And I do think that the variety is quite impressive for only having 8 colors. I think they did a terrific job selecting these specific colors to include in this set, and they're definitely not ones that I see from other brands very often. With that being said though, I'm curious how these compare to some other gel pens I currently have in my collection. However, before I get to that, I'd like to make note of a con that I found with these. Specifically, my experience with the navy and calate colors. I'd like to preface that I received these as a gift at the end of 2024 and have occasionally used these pens on and off over the past 16 months or so. I wouldn't say that I used these consistently or one color more than the others. I provide that context because when I take the pens apart and compare these 2 colors to the rest of them, for whatever reason, these 2 appear to be almost dried up despite minimal use with all of these pens. I'm not sure if these 2 specifically were formulated differently compared to the rest, if it has anything to do with the blue dye in these 2 pens or what the deal is, but I was really taken back at the stark difference between the amounts left in these 2 compared to the others that look almost brand new. Because of this, I find that these 2 pens write much drier. They have the tendency to drag and skip on the page, and simply do not behave well like the others. I don't recall these 2 colors performing this poorly when I first received them, however. I felt like they all wrote super juicy and smoothly when I first got them, so I'm not sure what happened over the past nearly year and a half, but unfortunately, something in the formula changed in these 2 pens, so that may be something you'll want to keep in mind if you're considering getting these. Moving on to the comparisons, the ones that I immediately thought of to compare to these were, of course, my beloved Zebra Sarasa Vintage gel pens. These have been my favorite colored gel pens for several years now, and a few of these Writech ones definitely reminded me of some of these colors. Starting off, I felt like the Writech Persian Red reminded me of the Zebra Sarasa Cassis Black color, since they're both a light pinky red shade. Also, I wanted to compare the dual color on this pen, navy, to the Zebra Sarasa Blue Black, as they're both deeper blues. Next is the Writech Milk Tea compared to the Zebra Sarasa Brown Gray. They're both a mid-tone muted brown. And from the same pen, comparing Writech Smoke Blue to the Zebra Sarasa Blue Gray. These are both muted and desaturated mid-tone blues. Then we have Writech's Dark Green versus Zebra Sarasa's Green Black, which are both deep greens as the names imply. And we have Writech's Amber compared to Zebra's Camel Yellow. These are both a rustic golden brown color. And then we have this calate and mauve duo, which do not have similar colors from the Zebra Sarasa line, But in terms of other brands, I figured I'd turn to my Uniball One gel pens to see if I could find any potential matches. For Writech's Collate, I wanted to compare it to the Uniball One Sheep Cloud color and Writech's Mauve to the Uniball One Blackberry Sorbet color. Unfortunately, these two Uniball One gel pens were from limited edition sets, so they're likely no longer available or not as readily accessible. But because I have it in my possession, I wanted to see if they were similar. So now that I'm all done swatching out the colors, here is a final comparison of what they all look like together. I'm not sure how well it's picking up on camera, but upon first impressions, for the Writech, I do feel like it kind of has a little bit more of like a watery consistency to it. I feel like the way that the ink applies onto the page, it just looks a little bit more diluted, and you can definitely see more of where the ink pools up when you lift the pen compared to the Zebra Sarasa pens as well as the Uniball One. So I think it may be like a difference in formulation, like there might be a little bit more water in these. And I do feel like because of that, the colors just don't look as vibrant or as strong. They look a little bit more on like that muted, desaturated end, which could totally be perfect if that's what you prefer. If you're wanting an ink formulation that's more of like that traditional gel consistency, then I would definitely recommend sticking with the Zebra Sarasas. I feel like the way that the ink and color apply onto the page just looks more even throughout each of the letters and each of the strokes compared to the Writech ones. And then just to compare each color to what I thought would be similar to it, starting with the Writech Persian Red, I do feel like it is quite similar to the Cassis Black. Just going back to what I said kind of with that formulation, I do feel like the Persian Red just has the appearance like it's almost a little bit watered down compared to the Zebra Cassis Black. And then in terms of the Writech Navy compared to the Zebra Sarasa Blue Black, I do feel like they're quite similar. If I had to really nitpick, I'd say that the Zebra Blue Black is just ever so slightly deeper. It definitely has a little bit more of like that black pigment, which depending on your preference, you can either take it or leave it. Now for the Writech Milk Tea compared to the Zebra Sarasa Brown Gray, I'd say that the Zebra Sarasa is just slightly deeper in tone. The Milk Tea color just seems to be kind of like a lighter shade, but I'd say that they're both pretty much like that mid-tone neutral brown color. And then moving on to Writech Smoke Blue compared to Zebra Blue Gray, the Zebra Sarasa is definitely more of like a deeper blue-gray as the name implies. The Smoke Blue almost leans a little bit more of like a deeper like turquoise in comparison, so I find that that is very interesting actually. And then the Writech Dark Green compared to the Zebra Sarasa Green Black. Again, I feel like the Zebra Sarasa is just ever so slightly deeper, but I feel like these two colors are actually quite close. As for the Writech Amber versus the Zebra Sarasa Camel Yellow, this one I do feel like there is quite a bit of a difference. The Amber just leans a little bit more brown in comparison to the Zebra one. I feel like the Zebra Sarasa is actually a little more vibrant and a little brighter, so depending on like which tone you like, you might have a preference for one or the other. And then for the Writech Collate versus the Uniball One Sheep Cloud, I definitely don't feel like these are too close to each other. The Uniball one is definitely lighter and not quite as like turquoise leaning as the Collate color is. And then in terms of Writech Mauve versus Uniball Blackberry Sorbet, I do feel like they're pretty close in color. I think that the Uniball Blackberry Sorbet is maybe just a little more vibrant in that like purple department, I guess. The Writech Mauve is definitely more of like that grayish purple. So very beautiful color. I think that they're quite nice, and I'm glad to see that they're not like exact like carbon copies of these other pens, especially like the Zebra Sarasa ones, just because they are very much loved in the like stationery world. So it's nice to see a slightly different color variation from the Writech brand. In the end, my experience with these Writech pens have been fine. I wouldn't say that I necessarily recommend them over the Zebra Sarasas, but I've enjoyed writing with them, just except the navy and Collate. And I've also really enjoyed having two colors to choose from on one pen. One of my personal favorite things about this dark green and amber pen is that these are two of my favorite colors to pair together in journal entries. It was something I loved doing with my two Zebra Sarasa ones, but instead of carrying around two pens like I did before, I can just carry this one. So it's the little things like that, I guess. In conclusion, if you're a fan of these vintage colors and you're wondering which set to buy, I would honestly recommend the Zebra Sarasas over the Writech ones. Anyway, I really hope that you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Thank you for geeking out with me over these stationery things. Let me know if I missed anything or if you have any questions regarding these pens. I love hearing from you guys. And let me know if there are any other products you'd like me to review in a future video. I'd be happy to do that for you as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.